A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. This Gospel we hear this morning for Mary's Mass is not an ordinary Gospel proclaimed at a funeral Mass, but it is the Gospel that was read in every Catholic church this past Sunday, the second Sunday of Lent, the story of the Transfiguration, as we can see in the banners up here. And the story, I think, that's very appropriate for us to gather here today, to remember Mary, to recognize that it is good for us to be here, as we hear in this gospel. It is good for us to be here, to hear God's voice, and to celebrate the presence of God with us, and Mary and Al's presence together back with God in heaven. Jesus took Peter, John, and James, and went up the mountain to pray. While he was praying, his face changed in appearance, and his clothing became dazzling white. And behold, two men were conversing with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his exodus that he was going to accomplish in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions had been overcome by sleep, but becoming fully awake, they saw his glory and the two standing with him. As they were about to part from him, Peter said to Jesus, "Master, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But he did not know what he was saying. But while he was still speaking, a cloud came and cast a shadow over them, and they became frightened when they entered the cloud. Then, from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my chosen son. Listen to him." After the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone. They fell silent and did not at that time tell anyone what they had seen. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Joining together with our consolation ministry and our music ministry here at Curie of ours, all of us as a parish family offer our condolences to you, to Albert, and to Stephen, to Joe, to Ellen and Marion, and to your spouses Camille and Rita and Nick, to Joseph and Nina, her grandchildren, and to all the extended family and friends who gather here this day in faith and in prayer. I've had the privilege of knowing the Coli family for almost 6 years, since I first came to Cure, and offering Al's Mass just before COVID back in 2019, and bringing communion and visiting Mary Claire in these years in between. And I think it's no coincidence that Mary's wake was yesterday on St. Patrick's Day, because St. Patrick's Day is important. March 17th is the day that Al became a police officer. March 17th is the day that Al also retired from the police department. And so a lot of connections here to keep in mind. Some 65 years ago, while working as a nurse at Northern Parkway School in Uniondale, Mary Claire would commute from her home, and in her convertible, she would flirt with this handsome police officer crossing guard by the school. She was Irish, he was Italian. The two were introduced by mutual friends, and only 6 months later, they were married at St. Martha's Church in Uniondale, and they would repeat that story to me because they knew I was served in that parish for 16 and a half years, long before they got married. So you, as a family, have your mom's Irish blood and your dad's Italian blood flowing through you, a blessed combination and complementarity. As your mom was a very reserved and shy woman, and your dad complemented her personality because he had a very big personality. A good friend of mine, a priest friend of mine, Monsignor Santi, who is a pastor of Our Lady of Lourdes in Massapequa Park, who is Irish and Italian, says it's the best combination in the world, Irish and Italian. One side sins and the other side feels guilty about it. Anyway, it's no coincidence that Mary's funeral mass today falls exactly in between the Irish feast of St. Patrick yesterday and tomorrow's feast of St. Joseph. No coincidence, because that's what we celebrate today, heritage. Heritage of nationality, heritage of family, and above all in this Mass, heritage of faith. It's a reminder, I think, that God uses all of his children, made first in his image and likeness, to diversify his world, our world, with uniqueness as his sons and daughters who give him glory by sharing distinctive gifts, our own personal distinctive gifts and heritage and faith to enhance the world with love. That's what it's all about. So, as St. Peter says in this gospel we just heard, this gospel proclaimed worldwide on Sunday, this past Sunday, the day before Mary passed, Peter says, it is good for us to be here. It is good for us to be here with each other and with Jesus in our midst. And so that's the theme of this homily this morning. St. Peter's words for Jesus, it is good for us to be here. First, it is good for us to be here to celebrate Mary's reunion. Her reunion on this past Monday evening at about 8 p.m. with Al, with her parents, Ella and Austin, with her brothers Bill and Austin, and Victor and Francis and Adrienne and Jean, and all those who preceded her into the kingdom of heaven. It's good for us to be here and to remember and to thank God for her faithful witness and prayer. Even when she and Al were both disabled, she would be here in church with Ellen and Zoe, staying rooted in their relationship with each other and with God. In fact, what a beautiful witness this pall, this cloth, is over here in the first pew in the transept side here, that remembers the spot that the pew that they sat in together, right here. Sometimes later on in the wheelchairs and just on the side here, the two wheelchairs linked together with Ellen attentively caring for their physical and their faith life right to the end, which, of course, for us, right to the end, for us as people of faith, is the beginning. The end is the beginning of life eternal. That's why we gather around this Easter candle here to remind us of the mystery of life in the midst of sin and death. So it's good for us to be here and to remember that Mary and Al, just the way they connected together, they would go to sleep each night holding hands and praying the rosary together. What a beautiful image. And now they are forever reunited together and intercessors for each of you, her family, and all of us, her parish family. Thirdly, it's good for us to be here to remember that, like most of us, Mary's faith journey and Mary's family journey wasn't always an easy or straight path, but that the new life of resurrection and recovery was part of her life story, and in the end, she passed on to heaven as a holy widow, a holy mom and friend and community member here at Curia of Ars. Fourthly, it's good for us to be here and to remember to celebrate all the memories, all the stories the five of you have of your parents through the years, giving you the faith foundation and always attending Sunday Mass together, serving in this parish as collection counters, and both your parents were ushers. That's why that usher jacket is on top of the casket today, to remind us of her and your dad's service to this parish through the years. And it's good for you, her children, to be here to remember at this Mass all the stories and the multiple family milestones together, going camping, vacationing upstate, going to the swimming pool, the holidays, and especially Christmas, which was such a big celebration at your home. And look back, in 2020, not long ago, even during the midst of COVID, Mary was determined to fit into that beautiful dress for Joe's wedding to Rita. She wouldn't eat much, which was causing some concern among the family, but the final result was she was thrilled to be at the wedding at the Swan Club, fitting into that special dress, celebrating life, celebrating family, celebrating faith. And finally, it's good for us to be here and to remember Ellen's powerful witness of faith and love, and her words to me so often, which, as I said to her, inspired me. They took care of me. They were real. They were very human like me, and now it's my turn to take care of them. It was grace. It was the Holy Spirit. It's Zobe's devoted dedication there all the time. What a beautiful witness of care, of family, of faith, and of love. So yes, it is good for us to be here. It is good for us to remember how, Mary had, more than 9 lives. She kept bouncing back. She had that indomitable spirit, all the times visiting. I remember over the summer coming with seminarian Patrick O'Brien, who was studying to be a priest, and it was the first time he had witnessed the last rites in the summertime, because Zoe said she was not going to make it through the day, and she received the last rites. She was attentive, and that was last summer. So all of the ways in which he kept going on, that indomitable spirit, just living each day as best she can, as fully as possible. So your mom was very proud of you, her children, and throughout the ups and downs, which were many, even everyone seemed to be finding their way back to God in their own special way, as Ellen says so beautifully. Lastly, it's good to remember from this gospel the words of the Father from heaven. The words of the Father from heaven. This is my beloved, listen to him. This is my beloved, listen to him. And so just as we listen to Jesus, we also listen to Jesus through the medium, through the venue, of one another. That God is always speaking to us in different ways, in so many multiple opportunities in life, and even beyond life into death. As Mary read in that reading, who will separate us from the love of God? Nothing. Nothing will separate us from the love of God. And as Joe read in that first reading today, in heaven the eyes of the blind will be opened. So we listen to the Lord in different ways. And someone sent me an Irish joke yesterday that kind of, connects with everything about this gathering this morning. And this conversation between Jesus and God the Father. And it goes like this. Jesus looked across the table at God the Father. And Jesus asked, "Where have you been these past 2 years?" God replied, "I've been in Ireland." Jesus, with a shocked look, said, "So there's been a pandemic raging these 2 years and you've been in Ireland? What have you been doing?" God leaned over and whispered, "Working from home, son. Working from home." And now your mom and dad are working from home, working from heaven, inviting the 5 of you to continue to do your best to listen to the voice of Jesus, to listen to the voice of your mom and dad from heaven, calling you to stay together, to keep connected to the Lord, to keep rooted in the faith that was so important and powerful to them. What have you been doing? What has she been doing? Already just this past week, interceding and praying for each of you. May she rest in peace, and may her work continue in you.